Hello, and welcome back to the Fae Banner Review, where we talk about, well, you know what, because we saw it in the Fae channel the other day. It's the Return of the Hot Springs banner, featuring the return of the characters we saw not too long ago. And as per tradition, I will be using this coveted line graph that may or may not be a line graph at the end of the day to rank the brand new Hot Springs banner, as well as the circle graph that may or may not be a circle at the end of the day alongside it. Today's rankings will be based on how much bait the banner has, and if you could hit that like and subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. First up, we have Chrom, and if you know Chrom, then you sure know his playstyle. He got an ult less than a year ago in Arena Chrom, and for the sake of brevity, I'm just gonna compare the two to see what meaningfully changed. The new one is a lance cav, while the old one is an infantry bow, but the range is still the same despite being a cavalry. It's mostly a difference of ring access, which I'll cover a bit more in a second. Weapon-wise, Arena Chrom inflicted exposure, discord, and null miracle when using an assist, while this new one inflicts exposure, speed shackle, and defense shackle at the start of the turn and after taking an action. They get the same stat gimmick based on total bonuses and penalties, except the new Chrom doesn't have a condition beyond that. An Arena Chrom gets built-in low attack and defense and player phase desperation, while Hot Springs Chrom gets 1 to 2 start of turn special jumps and true damage reduction. And as for the assist skills, it's more or less the same, except the new one no longer isolates Chrom. It allows Chrom to canto and take another action after, and it grants dual strike with an easier condition attached to it. So yeah, it's basically just newer Arena Chrom. Not that it should surprise anyone, but I'll give him this. There's some meaningful changes here, whereas it's almost never the case for other units. One of the major changes is that Hot Springs Chrom no longer gets isolated from using an assist skill, and he can cancel after, which makes him a better mobility unit overall. He can take advantage of Shadow Shift, Shadow Smite, those two skills. I couldn't think of any other skill, but getting another action after Canto is really great utility. Besides that, not having to use an assist to get his debuffs is a nice change since it will be applied much more quickly, and that's on top of it being applicable after using an assist too, so it could just stick more often on foes. Shackle also isn't too bad all things considered, and probably a lot more applicable than Null Miracle right now. His assist also gives out Dual Strike and makes it easier to get off since it no longer requires adjacency. Just being within 2 spaces is enough. Actually, is it enough? It's definitely more flexible, but I'm wondering if that's reliable for units. Still, it's way better than having to be adjacent, that's for sure. And to top it all off, this new Chrom has access to better rings, and by better rings, I mean debatably better, and by debatably, I mean, I don't actually know. He doesn't exactly need the Erica ring, even if Dual Strike's condition isn't amazing. He can use Edelgard's ring at least, which is nice for the extra actions. Arena Chrom only really has Lyn to work with, but Lyn is a really good ring effect to have even now. It allows him to get over Ice Train and doesn't require him to get in front of the foe. I personally lean towards Arena Chrom in that instance, but Hot Springs Chrom has a lot more stuff over Arena as is. Between the more consistent debuffs, mobility utility, and, well, being Chrom, I guess, he's definitely got a fair bit going for him. Unfortunately, he comes with a Heimdallr counter, so none of that matters in the end. Chrom also comes with a bunch of inheritable skills, including Blazing Wind, Attack Defense Outcry Dull, and 2 new skills in Attack Defense Foresight Nyx and Riptide Despair. Foresight Nyx was that anti-Foresight snare skill we saw in the Fae channel, and it really looks like they aren't messing around with that counter either. It grants the null Foresight snare status at the start of the turn, and it grants it to allies within 3 spaces after using an assist skill, and serves as a combat skill by granting upwards of 14 attack and defense, 7 to 15 true damage and true damage reduction based on whether the foe has Foresight Snare active, and grants the 50% damage reduction piercing effect. Meanwhile, Riptide Despair inflicts -4 Spectrum on the foe during combat, grants true damage and true damage reduction based on 20% of the unit's speed or defense stat, has built-in null follow-up and player phase desperation. Sure, okay, why not? It's another beast skill for flyers and cavalry, which is fine, but nothing that crazy. Nyx is the main highlight, but in the grand scheme of things, it probably won't have that many use cases. Outside of being an anti-Heimdallr skill, it's very mediocre. It doesn't give as many stats or effects that other recent additions give, and the condition for the true damage and true damage reduction is dependent on Foresight Snare even being around, which is pretty bad. It really is just meant to shut down Heimdallr, and the lack of restrictions show as much. Although, to be honest, I feel like the existence of the skill should scare away most people from using her anyway, since it's an inherent risk. Ruse and Firm Cancel Curb scared away most Catrias and Leones, and I expect that to happen with Heimdallr as well. Because of that, I'm not exactly sold on the skill, but I am glad it exists. I really do not like end turn status effects. Can't wait for the next one to come out so they could drop another skill in August to counter it.
Horse and man as one!
And other than that, that sure is Chrom. It's Arena Chrom, but newer, which makes him good by default. He's another unit that could spread around bonuses and has more utility to work with. Still, it's hard to say if you really need somebody like him if you already have Arena Chrom, but he's not a bad pickup regardless. Even just to deal with Heimdallr, it's probably okay enough. Next, there's Caeda, and she's the demote of the banner. You can tell she's a demote because she has a premium kit. I'll gladly take more good demotes though. We could always use more of those. Let's see. Caeda comes with Hot Spring Pale, which is a slaying green tome with built-in sword, lance, axe, bow, and armor effectiveness. It grants 6 visible attack and speed, empathy, and no follow-up to herself and allies within 2 spaces at the start of the phase. It grants the standard combat stuff, aka Spectrum stats, true damage reduction, and potent follow 100%. And for her first combat against an armored unit or a sword, lance, axe, or colorless bow in the player phase and enemy phase, she reduces the foe's first attacks to 1 damage. She also comes with a pure FB skill in True Love, which has built-in pass, allows her to warp within 2 spaces of any ally within 2 spaces. It inflicts -5 Spectrum, Flash, and bonus reversal on foes within 3 rows and columns of her during combat. It inflicts an additional -5 attack speed and res on them during her own combat, grants 20% speed-based true damage and true damage reduction, and 2 special jumps before her first follow-up attack. Okay, maybe it's just me, but reducing damage to 1 against half of the cast seems pretty strong. Am I alone in thinking that? Caeda definitely seems built to be a direct armor counter, which is cool. Between the 1 damage reduction, the effectiveness, and the flash effect, she's probably going to do a fair bit in combat. Although that last part is really weird to me because she'd normally be really good with reflex, but that won't go off unless she's enemy phasing. In fact, it's weirdly contradicting since the 1 damage effect may not even apply in many cases because of the flash effect. It's still good to have regardless, especially since allies can take advantage of it too, but it definitely comes off as a failsafe more than anything else. Besides that, everything else seems to be pretty standard stuff combat-wise. I think I actually like her more from a support angle because of all the stat swings she could give out between empathy and the bonus reversal on top of flash, but she could definitely lean into both roles since she could warp around and has access to a bunch of flyer skills. I like what she does a lot. Caeda also comes with Astra and attack speed airspace. Airspace is a pretty solid demote option. It's debatably still one of the best A-skill range flyers have access to right now. Can't really go wrong with flat cancel 2 and a bunch of true damage. Astra is also debatably still one of the best specials range flyers have access to right now, and I'm lying, this special isn't good. It works with her kit considering the effectiveness, but I wouldn't have minded a more premium option. I know beggars can't be choosers, but they're lying, I can be both. Give me more good demote skills, please, please, please.
Naturally.
And other than that, that sure is Caeda. For a demote, she seems pretty good, although I'd imagine any unit with 2 PRF skills would be. Okay, maybe not any. She's a dedicated armor check and gives out decent support between unconditional flash, lots of stat swings, and no follow-up. I think her being a demote makes her a lot more appealing, and I'd even consider throwing a few orbs at the banner because of it. More usable demotes are always a win in my book. And then there's Robin, and she's the rearms unit of the banner. She's a colorless tome, which is nice because the last time colorless tomes had any options to work with, unit descriptions were actually legible. Not that the arcane is anything impressive, but it's still an arcane and does what it needs to do. This time around, the arcane does the exact same thing that every modern arcane does, except now it inflicts -7 speed and res, exposure, and discord at the start of the turn and after taking an action. And as for what Robin has exclusive to herself, she comes with Perfect Plan, which is built in Canto 2. It grants Rally Spectrum to herself and allies within 2 spaces and inflicts Hush Spectrum on the closest foes at the start of the turn and after taking an action. Robin herself gets another action and re-enables her Canto after using an assist. It inflicts -5 attack speed and res during combat, grants upwards of 25 true damage and 15 true damage reduction based on bonuses and penalties. It grants potent follow 100%, and for herself and any ally with a Rally Spectrum active, if it's their first and the foe's first initiated combat, and if the foe has Hush Spectrum active, the foe's first attacks are reduced to 1 damage. You know, when the Fate channel dropped, I was worried she'd have the 1 damage reduction effect in her kit that she could abuse, but good news! She gives it out to allies as well. Yay. PRF skills really are their own weapons at this point though, given how much they shove into them. Robin does so much with just one skill, although if this is considered just one skill, then maybe that definition is a lot more loose than I thought. She's an action eco unit that can take advantage of the Byleth ring, and she could use shadow skills for extra utility. Her being a flyer and a rearmed also gives her access to more support options like Soaring Guidance, Crux Echo, and any assortment of Flyer C skills. And that's on top of the debuffs from her weapon, Rally Spectrum, and Hush Spectrum, which is a lot from one unit since she can apply them 3 times in one turn. Combat-wise, I genuinely don't care about her whatsoever, but that's not really what makes or breaks her anyway. She's a ridiculously strong support unit that can be used in all sorts of modes, although maybe not Aetherite's offense because you don't really need something like that there. Robin's probably good everywhere else though. Summoner duels, most of y'all don't play that. Aetherite's defense probably, and my personal favorite, the skill inheritance game mode. There's some truth to that, honestly. Robin also comes with Rally Up Speed Plus, Logic, Attack Speed Foresight Nix, and Null Uplift Attack Speed. They really just want Heimdall or gone at this point. Putting it on a rearmed would probably do it, although I can't imagine the demand for colorless tomes are at an all-time high right now. You'll probably find more use for Null Uplift and Logic, but it's still decent to have regardless. Worst case scenario, you still have one guaranteed Heimdall counter because of her rearmed status, and if you're thinking about replacing that A skill, well, do I have good news for you. Her other options really suck. And other than that, that sure is Robin. On one hand, I really like what she does, but on the other hand, I really don't like what she does. I'm a walking contradiction. Being an action eco unit that can take advantage of flyer skills and the Byleth ring is really strong. That on top of granting the 1 damage reduction effect to allies is really good. However, I don't like that effect, so boo, get off the stage. And finally, we have Marth and Lucina, and they're the harmonic this time around. While reading the comments on the last video, I noticed that a lot of y'all were really happy about this harmonic, and seeing those comments made something inside me grow 3 times that day. My orb count, but it was nice reading all the comments regardless. Anyway, Marth comes with a Lineage Lantern, which is a slaying dragon effective sword that grants Future Witness and the Order status to himself and any ally within 3 spaces at the start of the phase. It grants the standard combat stuff, aka Spectrum stats, true damage reduction, 50% damage reduction piercing, and allies with the Fire Emblem status can warp back to Marth if within 6 spaces of them. Marth also comes with a PRF special in True Emblem, which is a 5 cooldown special that boosts his damage by his entire speed stat. It has built-in Bulwark. It grants Spectrum 7, Fire Emblem, Speed Liberate, and Null Panic to himself and any ally within 3 spaces at the start of the phase. It grants 40% special damage reduction and full tempo. He also has another PRF skill in Binding Barrier, which inflicts -5 attack speed and defense on the foe during combat, grants 20% speed-based true damage and true damage reduction, it restores 7 HP when dealing damage, and it grants a bunch of effects based on the total value of bonuses based on 3 allies. Potent Follow 100% if 20 or more, Vantage if 40 or more, and Null Counter Disrupt and Enemy Phase Desperation if 60 or more. On top of a harmonic button that grants Resonance Blades, Fringe bonus, and Attack Liberate to himself and any ally from Arcanea and Awakening, and that button can be reused every 3rd turn. You know, I gotta say, for a banner that's insistent on countering absurdly busted support, they sure did release another unit with absurdly busted support. They made Legendary Sakura, but again, the 6-space warping mechanic continues to be one of the strongest things in the game, and it makes me wonder if they're ever planning on nerfing it at this point. But even if they did, Marth provides so much beyond the warping that it makes me wonder if they were running out of effects to put in his kit. Future Witness, Liberate, Null Panic, Fire Emblem. That's a lot of stats to give out from one unit, and that's not even including his harmonic button that will rarely come up. He also provides the Order status, which makes mobility a non-issue for everyone, and everything he gives out is within 3 spaces, which is super flexible. Just from support alone, he's already contributing so much. Binding Barrier, on the other hand, is completely selfish, being that it's purely combat leaning. When combined with his special, he could be a lot more of an effective warp beacon than Sakura or Happy, because not only could he reliably be closer to an enemy, but he can protect his allies much more effectively afterward. That part will definitely age out faster than his support, but while it stays irrelevant, it's going to be obnoxious to deal with. I think that's what makes Marth really absurd to me. Even when his combat falls off, at worst he'll still be a stronger legendary Sakura who continues to be one of the best units in the entire game even now. They'd have to release a direct counter to it for him not to be viable for the foreseeable future. Witness. Although I gotta say, for a unit with 4 PRFs, it says a lot that he could be summarized as better legendary Sakura more or less. It makes me wonder if he'd even be worth discussing as much if he didn't have that effect. Regardless, he's really strong and I don't see how this unit is falling out of favor for a long time. Marth also comes with Null Pulse Follow and Distant Attack Speed Defense Bond, which is a variant of Bridal Ash's Distant Counter skill. They're good skills for sure, but nothing that would make me want to fodder a unit like him. Null Pulse Follow will probably show up on other units down the line, and infantry aren't struggling for C skill options at the moment anyway. Same thing with Distant Bond, I'd imagine. Either way, they're not so enticing that it's worth getting rid of him. And as one FAOC would say,
you can do better.
And other than that, that sure is Marth and Lucina. It's a legendary Sakura, but blessable, and more combat leaning, and more support leaning, and more everything, honestly. That's what happens when you have 4 exclusive things in your kit. Combat-wise, he's not anything that new, but he could function as a bulwark frontliner that doubles as a warp beacon. He gives out a lot of speed between the visible bonuses, Liberate, Fire Emblem, Future Witness, and the harmonic button that won't apply to much of anything. But the rest sure does. He does so much, it's pretty ridiculous. I really need to know what goes through the devs' minds when making this kind of stuff. And then there's the free stuff, and who doesn't like free stuff? Our freebie unit this time around is none other than T. Lysithea. She was just on the Holo Forum, so that's cool for those trying to merge her up. Besides that though, she very obviously doesn't do anything useful given how old of a unit she is. Her fodder also isn't anything amazing in Desperation 4 and Attack Speed Oath 4. It's better than some of the other Tempest Trial stuff, but that's probably not saying much, is it? And as for the Sacred Seals, we have Attack Speed Link in Resonance 3. That's actually pretty sick. Resonance 3 grants a fair bit of true damage and gives damage reduction piercing, which is pretty great for a Sacred Seal. Even with its condition, it still gives a flat amount. That's a nice choice for a seal. Even Attack Speed Link isn't that bad since it's another supportive option. I like the free stuff overall this time around. And other than that, that sure is the banner. Yep. Okay, bye. And now that we've gone over the brand new Hot Springs units, I think it's time we rank the banner on the line graph. There may or may not be a line graph at the end of the day. And would you look at that? The brand new seasonal banner has earned a 7 out of 10 on the line graph. And based on my understanding of the banner, I believe that it would be best fit somewhere around this area of the circle graph. Despite the unit choices themselves, it has a lot of amazing stuff worth summoning for. Of course, it'd have to since it's right before the most anticipated banner of the year, and you may be wondering to yourself, is it really worth it despite it being right before CYL? And while there are plenty of reasons to summon on the banner, you probably shouldn't yet. Like I said, it's right before Choose Your Legend, so you probably shouldn't summon on it right away. Of course, if you don't care about that, then that's a different story, and it helps that these units are good, like really good. Chrom is Chrom, but Chromer, so take that for what you will. He has more utility than the previous one, but you can still get away with his Arena alt. It is a good upgrade to be had though. Marth is Marth, but Marther, and by Marther I mean Sakura. He's Sakura with more support in combat, which is strong, unsurprisingly. Robin is Robin, but actually, there's no direct comparison here. She gives out plenty of support too, and the one damage reduction effect can be really strong with the right team. And she does a pretty solid demote, all things considered. Her support is decent, and she could act as an armor check as well. This banner is really stacked, but I still think you should hold off for now. Even if you're not interested in Choose Your Legends, I don't think it hurts to wait regardless. It's not like the banner is going to go away anytime soon. Besides that, there's really nothing else to summon on currently anyway. There's the Emblem Leaf banner, but I think we both know why that's not a good idea. That banner stinks. Everything else is ending in less than a day as well, so it's really just those 2 banners right now. I say just hold off for now, TBH, 2BH, to be quite H. Can you believe it, guys? Choose Your Legends, just some amount of days away. Time is moving by way too quickly.